Hey, this is Mike. Thank you so much for choosing this video. Tonight, I'm in Whiteville, North Carolina, visiting Van Underwood Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, and I'm checking out a 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L at night. So this video focuses on the interior and exterior lighting of the vehicle. Check my channel for the full overview and test drive videos. So first I want to point out that if you want all the exterior lights to be turned off and the vehicle running, you have to turn off the headlight switch and engage the parking brake. When the headlight switch is turned off but the parking light is not engaged, you still have these relatively dim daytime running light LEDs. So it's basically the headlights, they're just a little bit dimmer. So I don't think they're bright enough to mistake them as headlights, but you still want to use the automatic function just in case. When I turn on the parking lights, the same headlight brightness maintains the same headlight brightness, but you have this amber strip right above it that turns on. So this is part of the parking lights. You also have an amber side marker here as well, and the amber light is also visible on the side. Also, the fog lights are now on. So when you turn the parking lights on and you have the fog lights turned on, typically they will turn on now. This is where they'll start to turn on. The tail lights wrap around to the side of the vehicle, serving as a side marker as well as a tail light. And they are nice red glowing tail lights, LED. Everything on this vehicle is LED. You can see the tag lights shine on the ground a little bit. And the tail lights are really nice. Nice even glow and bright and sharp. Sometimes the camera makes the lights look like a different color, but they are a nice deep red. Now I have the low beams on, and it looks kind of the same as far as the headlights goes. So it's a multi-reflector low beam. So there's the low beams. The high beams are there on the center part. It's a multi-reflector. The fog lights are a multi-reflector as well, and there's several of them there. It gives it good view on the sides and closer to the vehicle. I'm going to take it on a dark road to show you, but just right here is low beams and there's high beams. You can see the difference there. The fog lights turn off, but you have a much further distance there as far as the visibility. It casts the light much further. So now with the high beams on, that inner portion is now eliminated. So it's a multi-reflector, and all of them from the outside to the inside are now eliminated. So that's the high beams there in the inner portion. As it dip down, the low beams also kick in, and they work in together. So here's the turn signal, and it's an amber color turn signal, and it's that amber light that we saw before, that parking light. It just gets brighter and flashes. So I'm going to turn the camera down quite a bit because it is bright, so you can see how sharp it is, and it kind of blows out the camera. You can see it from the front and side. There's also a turn signal indicator on the side mirror in amber in color. You can see it from the front, the side, and the back. It's not super visible during the day, that one. And the tail light, the turn signal here on the tail light is red in color, and it's on this outer portion here. Looking at the cargo lights, there's two LED lights that are kind of like over-the-shoulder type lights. So here's one of them here. And they cast light on the ground and a little bit in the cargo area. And then there's one light right over there. So when I stand over here, this is a black interior. So let me turn the brightness up on the camera a little bit, because there's some lights coming in from the parking lot, it's really halfway decent here on the left side, and kind of halfway decent. But on the right side, they should have put a light here on the right side. It's very dark, even with the light, this over-the-shoulder type light. When I block that, you can see it's not adding a huge amount of light there. It's better than nothing, but this one on the left side, when I block this, there's still light here. So that was just, it would be almost perfect if they were to add a light there on the right side. So not sure why they didn't do that, but that's just the way it is. And this is kind of mediocre bright. It could be a little bit brighter. It's kind of small, but it's bright for its size, but should be a little bit better than that, I would say. There's these little pinpoint lights here in the third row, but boy, they cast a lot of light. Even with the black interior, it does a pretty decent job. And the USB connectivities are backlit. So you have USB-C and regular USBs on that far side backlit, and on this side backlit. So you can find those, that's nice. But as far as the third row lighting, I would say that's pretty good. I would say it's adequate for sure. Look a little bit better with brighter interior, but this black, it does a decent job. The inside of this back door, there's no puddle lights. There's no illumination in the ground at all, but there is in this pocket right here. So you're able to see some stuff there. Also, the handle has a little light in the handle. Might be hard to see, but it is in there. It's a little light right in here. And backlit buttons for the controls. So that's not too bad. Could use a puddle light, but has some illumination there. The second row, similar deal as the third row. It has these pinpoint lights. Little tiny lights, but they cast a lot of light throughout the whole area here. And there is some dark shadows here on the floorboard, which is not all that great. But overall, not too bad where the seats are and then the center part. And backlit buttons and controls are over here. So most of that is backlit, so we can see it at least. Very interesting. Here in the front, there's no approach light and there's no puddle light. Very strange. The Challenger has a puddle light, and it's in the $20,000 range, and then sub $30,000 range. But anyways, no puddle light, so you can't see where you're stepping in when you get in and out of the vehicle. There is a light in the pocket here, and the handle here. It does have a little light in there. Backlit buttons for the presets and the controls in the door. Floorboard illumination, which is nice. I do like that. Backlit buttons here. And right in here we have the dome lights that are bigger, a little bit bigger. They're not as pinpoint as the second row and the third row, but they're nice. I mean, they illuminate everything. You see the flickering on the camera. That's mainly due to the actual camera itself, and has nothing to do. There, I made it go away. Has nothing to do with the actual lights in the vehicle. All right, but yeah, as far as those lights here in the front, those are adequate for sure. Just wish it had puddle lights. Okay, so I have the door open. See what it looks like here. So let's go ahead and shut it. And the interior lights fade out. We still have the floorboard illumination, which is nice. Backlit buttons on the steering wheel. There's the gauge cluster, which is that full digital screen. And we can adjust the brightness. Go up and down. That's lowest, that's highest. You also have the ability to adjust the ambient light. I'll show you that in a minute, because we do have some ambient lights right in here, on the sides of the gauge cluster, and across on the other side. And you can adjust the brightness of that. So as I go up and down on the scroll wheel, it also adjusts when you do that, it also adjusts the brightness in the floorboard as well. All right. Now when we go full blast on the gauge cluster, it just pops up the brightness on the screen here, which is a little bit too bright for nighttime. So we have backlit buttons up here. The screen's looking nice. The controls, all these are backlit. There's a compartment here. Open that up and has some backlit buttons. Also a light in here where you put your cell phone for charging. There's a shifter, the controls there. Cup holders are illuminated all the way around. The center console has a light in it as well. That one, I don't know if that one is, it looks a little yellowish, so I don't know if that's an LED or not, but it's adequate for that compartment, I would say. The upper compartment has no light. Up here, there's quite a bit of backlit buttons, and there's this little light right here. It's kind of like like a moonlight. So when it's super duper dark, it kind of illuminates this area. I don't know if you can see it on my hand a little bit, but it just kind of illuminates the center area just very slightly. Glove compartment has a nice bright light in it. HomeLink garage door opener controls are backlit. The visors have the nice bright LED with the mirrors. You got tap lights up here. You can turn on all the interior lights, pushing that button. They typically turn on and off with the door unless you turn the off button there. So here's some of the light settings here. So some of the trims you can adjust the color of the ambient light, but this one doesn't appear to have that. So you can see that's the different light options in the settings here. And then here's all the apps. So the screen looks really good at nighttime. So does the camera system. So we got the rear view camera, which is looking pretty good, and we'll see what it looks like going down the road as well, and compare that with the rear view mirror. Much better for the most part. Now let's look at the camera system. Let's go to favorites, and I got the family camera, so we can see the inside of the car, and it's kind of like a night vision there. You can see that. So if I put my arm back there, you can see it moving around. Now let's look at the surround camera. So it's showing top down. There's not much things to see. There's some grass here to the left, but basically just some blacktop, so there's not a lot to see, but it's really pretty dark over here, and so you can see pretty decent, and especially that front view, the back view, front view wide, front view, and just a backup camera. Pretty clear, pretty nice and clear. It has some grain in it because it's increasing the brightness, but other than that, you can see fine. So here is the low beams, and there's the high beams. So that's the pattern against the fence here, just to give you an idea. It looks a little bit like the pattern, depending on your distance. Very close, you can see there's overlaps in the different reflectors. So they're trying to cover as much area as possible. But on the road, it kind of blends together a little bit more. The low beams seem to do a pretty good job of not blinding other drivers, but also give me enough light on the ground in front of the vehicle, and a pretty good distance without having that position as too high, especially oncoming traffic. The light isn't evenly distributed as much as maybe I would like. There is obviously for oncoming traffic, there is like a little bit of a shadow there on the oncoming traffic side, just to kind of give them a little bit of leeway in case I'm going over bumps or hills or whatever. But it seems like it's a little bit brighter closer to the vehicle, and then, which is pretty typical, but you know, some vehicles do a little bit better job of extending that range on the low beams to make sure that, you know, it's more, the light is cast out a little bit more, but it's still fine. I mean, they're low beams, so and it's not blinding the person in front of me. I'm able to basically see fine between me and the vehicle in front of me, so it's not really an issue or anything. So now we're starting to see some high beams. I do have the automatic high beams on, and they seem to work pretty decent so far. They haven't flashed anybody or caused any problems, and they seem to dim appropriately. So even with the low beams on the highway like this, where there's cars are spread out, they're not very close together, it seems to be fine. I don't really see much of an issue here. I'm gonna go ahead and manually turn on the high beams when there's no cars here. So there we go. So you get to see it does do a good job of casting out that light. Illuminates. It's very bright. That's impressive. I think the high beams are a little bit more impressive to me than the low beams. Low beams are kind of decent, not bad at all, but you know, they're kind of decent, but they're not as super impressive. The high beams, that casting of the light, see how bright those signs are? And it really projects, even though they're reflectors, it's like a projector. It projects that light a really good distance here. So I'm going to manually do the lights here, because I want to make sure that I can. So far it's just mostly been low beams to show you. I want you to see some high beams now that I'm excited about it. They're not evenly distributed though, but other than that, so there's the high beams right there. There's low beams and there's high beams.